Hey, good morning. It's the day after the first rain of the year. I'm on the gravel bike. I'm on the Turner Cyclosys, and I'm going to be talking today during my ride on what it is you might want in a gravel bike, because the choices have never been wider. Whether you're a flinty-eyed racer or you're a bearded adventurer, and anywhere in the middle, which is kind of where I fall, there's got to be a gravel bike for you. So today, I got to work my way across town first, get up into the mountains, and I'm going to be talking about why I think the Turner Cyclosys represents a very smart maturing of gravel bike market. Anyway, first I got to get there. Here we go. Well, I made it past the mud apocalypse at the bottom. Man, I had to carry my bike for a while. I just was, you know, they talk about mud clearance on a bike. It doesn't matter how much mud clearance you have, because it will find mud to put in your clearance. So I was thinking about this as I was riding up this climb, and I was thinking about the state of gravel bikes, kind of where we are with things. And I was thinking how many generations deep we are in gravel bikes. And I thought certainly two, but I think I can make a case for we are at our third generation now of gravel bikes. And I think this Turner Cyclosys fits solidly in that generation. And what we're seeing in generation number 3 is a pretty good stratification of a gravel bike. And by that I mean, think of it as a 3-tiered layer cake. And I kind of like chocolate, so let's make it a 3-tiered chocolate layer cake, although carrot cake has my attention. And at the top layer, it's a little thinner, and the bottom layer is a little thinner. In the middle layer, it's a big fat layer. So the top layer, it's starting to be what we would call a gravel race bike, probably carbon. Now they're starting to say they want the frame to be somewhat aero, and it'll probably be intentionally stiff. It may not even have that much tire clearance. Maybe it'll max up at a 42. And something like the new Canyon Grail fits in that category, and I think we're going to see more. And I would say even the Time ADHX 45 kind of fits in there, although it will take a 45 millimeter tire claimed. And in the bottom thin layer, that is full-on adventure gravel bike. Some of these are even almost a drop bar mountain bike. They may even take a suspension fork, maybe even a 100 millimeter travel suspension fork. And they will have lots of tire clearance, maybe up to a 2.2 or even larger potentially. Lots of rack braze-ons, lots of water bottle braze-ons, typically metal, very few carbon bikes in that realm. The Salsa Cutthroat kind of is the one I can think of, but anything else typically will be metal. Lots of steel bikes and titanium in that genre. The middle ground, the fat layer of this chocolate cake, yeah, I'm making myself hungry here, is where this Turner Cyclosys sits very, very nicely. And that is the almost, I would call it the all-purpose gravel bike. It doesn't really matter what the frame is made of. It can be carbon, aluminum, steel, titanium. That really isn't that important necessarily. It'll have smart gearing on it, finally. We'll talk about that in a minute. It will have geometry that's sorted, that makes sense for a gravel bike these days. It'll have tire clearance that's appropriate, and it will generally just be something you can take and do light road on it, all the way up to fairly adventurous gravel, and be very, very happy with.
This is as good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life.
So let's talk about Generation 3 gearing. So where you started off with compact road, and then somewhere along the way, I think it was FSA that developed the subcompact crank, which was a 4630. Now that was a huge step in the right direction for gravel gearing, but the cassettes were still kind of, lingering around in that deep road area of 32 and maybe 36 for SRAM, which was pretty cool because for years now I've been running a 4630 crank with an 1136 11-speed SRAM cassette, and on my SRAM Rival 22 stuff on my gravel bike, yeah, it's a little out of manufacturer spec. Actually works really, really well. But the point is, in Generation 3, we have got more options than we've ever had. Now, GRX came along, and although I was always a little underwhelmed, frankly, with GRX. Shimano does work with their little box, engineering box, and didn't really meet my needs. But it was a step in the right direction because it was gravel specific, and it was really well received by a lot of riders out there. Now, SRAM took it next level, because they not only gave us some very, very small chain rings across the board for road in their access stuff, they had the access wide, which is a 4330 front crank, 2x obviously. That's a pretty cool crank. But what they did even more is they adopted the mullet. Now the mullet, that's what's on this Turner Cyclosys. I got a 40-tooth front chain ring, and I've got an Eagle 1052 cassette with an Eagle derailleur. And the front are force access shifters, road shifters. And it works really, really well. And it gives me amazing, really, gearing options. Like I just rode up what I call the granite steps. And the granite steps are cruel. I mean, the camera doesn't do that justice. That is like low gear mountain bike stuff. And I made it up almost spinning. I mean, not quite, but I wasn't under the gear. Now the Turner Cyclosys, it'll run pretty much any gearing you want. Now you're starting to see some frames, mostly in roads, saying electronic shifting only. Well, that isn't true here. There's probably some gravel frames that are like that out there too. Nope, the Turner Cyclosys, it'll take 1x and 2x mechanical and electronic. And you know what? There's some things about mullet that I don't like, but slowly but surely, I had to say it's kind of winning me over. All right, up the road I go.
Today and not tomorrow, there's no time to borrow.
I'll tell you what, on this climb, I am totally appreciating the mullet. That's nice. And since a lot of the gravel riding I do is quasi mountain biking, at least as far as the roads go, steep and rough, I'm appreciating this low gear. Did I mention, I don't think I did, this Turner Cyclosys, besides being able to take mechanical, 2x, etc., it's also UDH compliant. So you could, as far as I know, run the SRAM transmission on this.
Feel the wind on my face.
So the next thing the third generation is getting right is geometry. Now this Turner Cyclosys here, it does represent a trend that so far, if this is any example, I'm in favor of. And that is a slightly longer top tube than you would see on an equivalent road bike in this size frame. This is a size large. Now what David Turner did on this bike is he pushed the top tube out. I think it was at least 10 millimeters. I've got to look that up. It might be a little bit more. And what that does is, depending upon the fork offset and the head tube angle and all that, if you keep all of that about the same and you lengthen your top tube, you push that front wheel out in front of you a little bit. And that gives you a surprising increase in stability and just overall composure when riding gets rough, and it really doesn't take away very much from the rest of the ride experience. Now you can compensate for that with a stem change. You can pull 10 millimeters out of your stem, or you can change your reach of your handlebar, or you might leave it just the way it is and you may find out that you like it that way. And he also has got, I think, the sweet spot in the chainstays. 430 millimeters is right in a really good area. It doesn't feel too, long and ungainly when you're getting out of the saddle and pedaling, and yet it's enough to keep it, the rear wheel back behind you, which really feels good when things get a little bit sketchy. This has a nice level of bottom bracket drop too. I'll put it up on the screen. I can't remember if it's 73 or 74 millimeters of drop. I don't think it's more than that, but I'll put it up. And that really gives you that low kind of in the bike center of gravity. I'm a total fan of that. So Generation 3 gravel bikes are getting sorted. If you want that super racy, short and stiff type of approach, you can have that now, and you're going to see more of those in the future. And if you want something even slacker, that can take a really wide drop bar and all the brazons and all that, maybe the chainstays are 445 millimeters, so you can run a pannier or get your rear wheel way back there just to get it out of the way and have that long, plush, over the horizon type of wheelbase. You can have that too. Generation 3 gravel bikes, they can offer you pretty much anything you want. Well, that's where I came from. Isn't that a beautiful old pine tree of some kind there? And that's the valley below. Gonna ride up here a little bit further, find a spot to stop and talk about Generation 3 gravel bike all-around performance and where this Cyclosys hits that sweet spot. Oh, that was a bump. That's the helipad for LA County Fire Camp 9. I'm up here. Well, I can't really show you much of a view because the clouds are there, but there is a whole bunch of pitfalls down there. All right, let's go find a place out of the wind, get some warm clothes on, wrap this thing up, shall we? So where does that leave us now? In this third generation of gravel bikes? Well, I think it leaves us in a great place. If this Turner Cyclosys is any indication of that, and I think it is agile, it's decently light at 20.5 pounds, give or take a few ounces. It's versatile. I can put 3 water bottles on, I can put bags on, I can go bike packing. I could put a roadie-ish rodent tire on it and I could go out and cruise around if I wanted to. Wouldn't be great, wouldn't be awful either. And you know what the thing is, even if this isn't your cup of tea, there is some gravel bike out there now, as many choices there are, that'll make you very, very happy. There is truly, I think, something for just about everybody. I think this one's for me. It has met my needs extremely well. I think David Turner did an excellent job designing this. I love the handling. It fits me. It's decently comfortable and yet quite snappy and responsive for a titanium bike. I love that. It's not a couch and it's not a rocket for racing, but it is in that lovely, lovely middle ground where most people honestly want to live when they ride their mountain bikes. All right, I'm getting cold. I got to get off the top of this mountain. Coffee awaits. You guys take care. If I don't see you at the coffee shop, then you know what I always say, go ride your bikes. You know, I heard someone say that as they've gotten older, that the mountains have become steeper and higher. I haven't noticed that. What I have noticed as I've gotten older is I enjoy the view from the top a whole lot more.